Problems encountered during construction vary from project to project. However, most tend to fit into one or more of the following categories: delays, planning and control, testing, documentation, or misunderstanding of CQC responsibilities. Delays of any kind are a problem, each making the construction schedule a little more difficult to meet. Delays can be caused by not getting submittals in on time, the correction of deficiencies, or because the contractor has not embraced the quality control concept. Proper planning and control can avoid potential problems, just as lack of planning and control is likely to cause some problems. Improper, inadequate, or untimely testing will almost always lead to problems. The government considers proper documentation of all quality control actions and test results as important as the actions and tests themselves. Improper documentation, or that which is late or incomplete, can be a major cause of problems during construction by not identifying problems. Even years after a project has been completed, problems may surface. If legal action is ever taken, the CQM reporting system is able to provide information on the construction practices and testing procedures, even if those who worked on the project are no longer available. In such a case, inadequate documentation could seriously jeopardize the legal position of the government as well as the contractor. Serious problems can arise when there's a misunderstanding of CQC responsibilities. Sometimes these misunderstandings can be solved at the field level, where contractor and government personnel are more familiar with each other and the details of the project. If discussions with on-site personnel don't result in satisfactory resolution, the problem must be taken to higher levels of management. If agreement cannot be reached, the government makes the final determination. The government has several options if the quality control system is not working. There are clauses in the contract that provide the means of enforcing contractor compliance. If construction work is deficient, the government can require the contractor to expose, test, and ultimately remove the work in question. If the contractor refuses to correct deficiencies, he may receive a directive letter which would also be furnished to the contractor's surety company. This could ultimately lead to the government hiring another contractor to make the corrections. The government may withhold payment under certain circumstances. These include the contractor's failure to perform in accordance with the terms of the contract, failure to provide the quality control plan, or failure to build to the established standards of quality provided in the contract. The contractor must remember that the government is under no obligation to pay for work that is deficient or that fails to meet the requirements of the contract. The government can require the contractor to remove personnel from the project that have shown themselves to be incompetent, careless, or otherwise objectionable. The government may also direct the contractor to provide additional quality control personnel to meet the control standards established in the QC plan. The contractor himself can be required to assume personal supervision of the work if he fails to designate adequate superintendents. The government contracting officer also has the option of stopping work until deficiencies are corrected, especially if the defective work will become inaccessible if work continues, or if the contractor attempts to build on defective work. If the contractor refuses to make corrections in defective work, fails to build to contract requirements, or doesn't comply with the directions of the contracting officer or his representatives, he may receive an unsatisfactory performance appraisal at the conclusion of the project. At any time during the construction process, the contractor may receive an interim unsatisfactory appraisal. This often serves as a warning to the contractor that he is not meeting his contractual obligations sufficiently. If the contractor is willing to correct deficiencies and follow the QC plan, there should still be time for him to avoid receiving a final unsatisfactory appraisal. This is something to be taken seriously, because even one unsatisfactory appraisal could have an adverse impact on the contractor's ability to obtain future work. If the government has exhausted all other options and the contractor still has not responded, they may decide to terminate the contract. This is not a decision the government likes to make, as it's usually not in their best interest. Termination action is taken only after all other options have failed. In order to avoid any negative action that may be taken by the government, The contractor should always act quickly when problems are discovered. On the other hand, if the contractor is outstanding in the performance of his work and quality control, he may receive an outstanding performance appraisal, safety awards, and public recognition. It is the contractor's job to control the quality of construction work. The easiest, cost-effective way to achieve this requirement is by taking quick, decisive action when problems arise and to prevent them whenever possible. The government is serious about CQC and will hold the contractor responsible for contract compliance. By insisting upon the same quality standards and working together as partners, the contractor and the government can be certain of reaching their goal to deliver a quality product on time and within budget to a satisfied customer.